Chapter 16. Come on, Chad, I need your help with something, my neighbor Red says. What do you need my help with, I ask. Just come on, I'll show you. I walk into Red's cell. It's extremely hot. Wires are dangling off the wall. There's a mop bucket on the floor with a plastic bag inside it. Another mop bucket has a bag filled with homemade wine. Red has had this concoction brewing for 3 or 4 days. Everyone has a hustle. Red is turning wine into moonshine. This is how he pays for his heroin addiction. Red is from North Carolina. A few years back, he was sentenced to 21 years in federal prison for being a convicted felon in possession of a hunting rifle. He is a kid of many talents. Not only does he make moonshine, or white lightning as it is called here, he also runs a makeshift tattoo parlor from his cell, a Walkman repair shop, and a greeting card factory. Every penny he earns goes into his veins. Red wants me to help him distill his wine, a job I really don't want to be involved in. Things don't look safe in his cell. Look, I'm going to wrap these wires here to the wires in the light socket, he tells me. If the electricity hits me, you gotta grab me. Hit me, just get me off the wires. The look on my face does something to him because he starts to laugh hysterically at me. For some reason, I do the same. Fuck no, I ain't doing that, I say in disbelief, incredulous that he would ask me to do such a thing. Aw man, you're one of those uppity honkies from New York. Think you can't make your own whiskey. Nah, I just ain't messing with no electric, and if your ass gets electrocuted, they ain't blaming me for killing your ass, I reply. So you're gonna let me get electrocuted, bro? Red asks, as he begins twisting the wires together with no regard to my objections. He starts laughing again. If you ain't finna get me off this electric, and I die, I get an early release, he continues. Come on, Red, I ain't with this shit, man, I say, making my way to the door. Red starts shaking. I feel instant panic well up inside me. I want to dart for the door. I am halted by another of Red's hysterical laughs. I'm just fucking with you, man. I do this shit all the time. Man, you should not be playing like that, Red. Don't trip, it's all good. Just wanted to see if you were willing to try and save my life. I see you're not, he says with a giggle. Come on, I ain't messing with no electric, kid. I can see that. With friends like you, who needs enemies? We both laugh at that. What kind of friend wants his friend to get electrocuted with him, I say? One that is afraid to die alone. Man, I'd rather die like that than let one of those scumbags stab me, Red replies with a laugh. Man, I don't want to get zapped or stabbed or killed, for real, Red. Neither do I. Everything's cool. We have to cook this liquor. You gonna help me or what? The cops don't care, bro. I nod my head that I'm going to help him. Red's homemade heating element is a disassembled iron. All the plastic has been removed. The only thing left is the steel and electric cord. The cord is attached to the wires protruding from the wall. Red drops the disassembled iron into the liquid that has been brewing for days. Before long, the liquid begins to boil. A hose is attached to a plastic bag, sitting in another bucket, this one filled with ice, to catch the alcohol. The cell looks like a set from Mr. Wizard's World episode. The alcohol boils off at a lower temperature than the water content, allowing the condensation to filter through the hose and into the bag, Red explains. I listen intently. The process separates the alcohol from the liquid content, creating good old prison moonshine. The cell is hotter than a summer day in an Arizona desert. Sweat drips from my brow. Ozzy Osbourne's War Pigs blares from Red's homemade speaker. Red's cell reminds me of Booper's Uncle Bobby's party room. The party room had old rock and roll posters on the wall, an old table with cigarette scorches burnt into the wood, some chairs, and an old boombox with dried up paint all over it. The party room is where Bobby, his friends, and prostitutes would smoke cocaine base. Occasionally, they would shoot up cocaine or heroin in the party room. It was hot, filthy, and filled with lawlessness just like Red's cell. Again, I am wondering how I got myself into this bullshit. I'm hanging out with Red, making a potion that will surely contribute to some form of violence. Hanging out with Red is simply a way to pass the time in a place filled with boredom. What's up with the ice, I ask. That stops the bag from blowing up. If the wires come off that iron, it could turn the bucket into a fireball. That's when you better run for real, Red says, laughing again. After 2 hours of talking and sweating like crazy, the process is finished. Both of us are still alive. Red takes a small plastic cup and dips it into the moonshine-filled bag. He takes a spoon and puts it on his locker. A little bit of alcohol is put on the spoon, and he lights it on fire. Blue flames dance a tango before our eyes for a minute or two. Red motions me for a high five. Do you know what that means, Chad? Nah, I respond. It means that shit is gas. These motherfuckers are gonna pay top dollar for my liquor, Red says, excitement in his voice. Alcohol quality is tested by lighting it on fire. The bluer the flame, the longer the dance, the better the quality. I can only imagine what this stuff will do to a person's insides, but that seems to be the least of people's worries around here. Nobody seems too concerned about their insides. Red's liquor sells like hotcakes. The prices vary. For half a pint, he pulls in 4 books of stamps, or $20. A whole pint sells for 7 books of stamps, or $35. If you're thirsty, but broke, you can get a small cup for $1.50. Red caters to everyone. Within an hour, Red pulls in 300 jail dollars. Not bad for 3 days of watching a bag of liquid turn into alcohol, then processing it for a few hours in extreme heat. Red shoots 4 books of stamps in the air toward me. I catch 3 and fumble the last one. It falls to the ground. That's for helping me. 4 for helping you, and I need 4 more for the heat, and 4 your jokes on that wire, I reply. I was going to only give you 2 for being so damn scared, Red says, walking out of the door, leaving me in his cell. I know where he is going without him saying. His newly earned stamps will be going to the Serenos. Right now, they own the prison heroin market here at Big Sandy. Many men here are victims of the same addiction. They cannot get out of the infamous cycle of shooting heroin. Black tar heroin through a homemade needle is an escape from prison. It quells the pain of loneliness for a short time. Drug abuse was the road that led legions of these men through Big Sandy's doors. The addiction is its own journey with no end in sight for the addicted. Like Noki, the prospect of death does not quench the thirst. With the extreme violence on this end, I will never be able to comprehend why any of these prisoners would ever allow their judgment to be clouded with drugs. It is easy for me to recognize that I always have to be aware of my surroundings, who's who, what people are doing and saying. Life could be over in the blink of an eye if I'm caught off guard. Plenty of people will be off guard today, thanks to Red's moonshine. Others will be nodding off into a heroin daze. Danger for everyone, more for those intoxicated. Danger is looming in the distance. Red is back with a Kool-Aid smile. He knows that the venom he puts in his arm will take him out of here before long and to his temporary special place. While he cannot escape the razor wire physically, black tar allows him to do so in his mind. You don't want to watch me do this shit, do you, Red asks? I don't give a fuck. I am interested in knowing how he is going to intravenously contaminate his body. As expected, Red has a homemade device that looks like the needle Jamie Foxx used in the Ray Charles movie. Even prison cannot stop people from dancing with the opiate devil. Red's prison-style syringe is easy to make. It's cobbled from needles stolen from the medical department, smuggled in from cops, visitors, or through the mail. Points for the needles sell for 2 books of stamps. Once a prisoner has a point, they cut an ink pen in half using dental floss as a saw. The tip of the pen is melted around the needle. Once that's done, a bladder is needed. That is usually made from a milk bag's nipple attached to the other end of the pen. All of this is held together by a rubber band. Prisoners are innovative people. They have to be. My eyes are focused on Red. The whole situation has me in curiosity's grip. Come on, man, you gotta stare at me, bro? Red asks. I just want to see how this shit works, Red. You're gonna fuck up my high, man. Shut the fuck up, just do what you gotta do. With that, Red squeezes the bladder, lighting his veins on fire with pleasure. In a short time, he will no longer be here. His escape is imminent, but he'll be back. He pulls the binky out of his arm and licks the blood spot, bopping his head ironically to Leonard Skinner's song, Needle in a Spoon. I watch his eyes grow heavy as the music plays. His lips curl up into a tired smile. His head nods downwards. After a few seconds, he tries to lift his head. His eyes, too. But the scenario repeats itself over and over. Red has no control over himself. The poison dances in his veins. I have seen this dance before. Again, something about this dark place takes me to a sad place from my past. Looking at Red, I see 1993. My father. I have to find him. No one else knows where he is, but I do. When he cannot be found, I know he's in the party room. I rush out to find him. He is here. I find him, although I secretly hoped he would not be here, but he is sitting in a chair. Dad, what the fuck are you doing? You're already high, you scumbag? Your son's funeral is an hour away. No one can find you, I say through clenched teeth. Come on, Chad, help me. Your son just killed himself, and this is what you're doing, bitch? Huh, bitch? I yell in anger. The pain of my brother's suicide, combined with my anger at my dad's irrational decisions to be a dad and not a father, caused me to draw my hand back as I shriek, "Fuck you, punk." And I do it. I slap him across his face. Never would I ever have thought I would have the courage to slap the man who brought me into this world. Today, though, is the first day that I accept he is nothing more to me than a dope junkie. For all he has put my mother through, the disrespect, the beatings. I think about beating him to death in this party room. I'm 14. Instead, I spit on him as I leave. Behind me, I hear him say in a low voice, "Fuck you back, motherfucker." He laughs. I no longer have any feelings for him. Nothing can fix his absence from my brother's funeral or my life. I run home wearing tears of anger, determined to tell my family I could not find my dad. I shake my head as I come out of my daydream. Red getting high took me out of Big Sandy, too. I escaped to another dark place. Left this one for that one. My eyes focus again. One single teardrop slowly rides down my cheek. I wipe it away swiftly. I focus on Red. Standing up, I say, "You know what, Red? You're a fucking loser. I'm out of here, kid." Walking out of the door of this sauna, I turn back at Red's voice. "Chad." "What's up, loser?" I respond. "Fuck you back, motherfucker," he says in a slow voice. Then he is laughing uncontrollably. Chapter 17. Rumors are floating. Something bad is going to happen. Sometimes before a car hits someone, other shot callers get the information. In these situations, they instruct the men in their car to get their affairs in order. Take showers, cancel visits, make sure they have food for the impending lockdown. The word is that the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas is going to hit a guy from Texas that is supposedly a snitch. Dinky has chosen the two missiles. One is an Aryan Brotherhood soldier, Billy Bob. The other is a man named Dwayne from Pennsylvania. Dwayne is not a gang member. When he came to Big Sandy, rumors that he might have checked in at another prison came with him. This is something he vehemently denies. Dwayne linked up with Dinky and his crew somehow. He was given an ultimatum: join Billy Bob on this mission and clean his name, or face the wrath of the men he chose to bond with. He has chosen to unleash unprovoked violence on another man to save his own skin. Cleaning up one's name is something that bewilders me. If a man walks through the doors of Big Sandy after violating the prison rules at another penitentiary, but can clean up his name and in doing so prevent an assault against himself, this contradicts everything I have been told since I've been here. In reality, Dwayne is nothing more than a sacrificial lamb that Dinky can cast into oceans of danger to save one of his own gang brothers from the trouble that may come with the planned assault. Both men have their orders. Armed with prison shanks, shortly after breakfast, they head to C1 housing unit. Unbeknownst to the intended victim, the two perpetrators of the intended assault slip into C1. Another Aryan Brotherhood of Texas gang member points out the prey as he strolls down the catwalk, his long hair flapping with each step. Dwayne meets the victim head-on. Billy Bob comes up behind him, slashing downward. The tip of his homemade knife punctures his mark's back. As soon as he is hit, the mark dashes towards the officer's station. To his dismay, the officer is not there. The officer is inaccessible. He's in the unit team area using the bathroom. The mark turns, his back to the office doors. His hands are up now. He positions himself in a boxer's stance. Billy Bob swings the knife at his target. Red blossoms on the man's white t-shirt. A circle of blood forms on his shoulder, illustrating where he was hit. The target begins to swing wildly. He screams for help. Dwayne swings an empty fist and connects with his prey's head. The man runs. Both Dwayne and Billy Bob give chase. Up the stairs to the second floor. Back down. Back up. The officer has arrived, alerted by the screams. He too seems to panic. He hits the deuces on his handheld radio. Dwayne wraps his arms around the patsy and Billy Bob closes in. He begins to butcher the victim, stabbing him repeatedly. The screams echo throughout the housing unit. Some prisoners head to their cells. Others look on as if this is just another day at the office. Staff has finally arrived to help the fallen. Billy Bob is tackled to the ground. Dwayne's arms are peeled off the wounded man. Both are handcuffed. Prisoners are ordered to their cells. Medical staff arrive with a stretcher to take the long-haired man to the hospital. The prison is locked down only long enough to clean up the blood. Normal operations resume in no time. Within 10 days, Billy Bob and Dwayne are back on the compound. The sanctions for the beastly assault are a mere 10 days in the shoe, a 90-day loss of commissary, and the customary 27 days loss of good conduct time. Not a big deal in this place. Sanctions like this are no more than a joke. There is no deterrent effect for those who entertain the thought of stabbing someone. The consequences for such actions are nil. A common saying behind these gray walls is you have a license to carry a knife or stab someone as long as you don't kill them. Most people are never charged with a new crime unless they kill someone or assault a staff member. We are the outcasts whose lives mean nothing to society. In prison lingo, it's all legal around here. Nothing is done to quell the problems here that rack me with fear and anxiety. For Dwayne, Dinky's word was as good as the person he gave it to. No good. There is a plan in place to hit Dwayne now. I was wrong. They're not going to let him clear his name. The same rumors that I heard about Dwayne must have reached his ears as well. He detoured to the lieutenant's office on his way to lunch. He asked for protection. Had he stayed, there were men drooling to please Dinky by assaulting him. The PC move stays with you no matter where you go. Once a prisoner checks in, he is doomed. Cleaning one's name is a myth. With Dwayne gone, Dinky and his crew of misfits locked their eyes on a man in his 50s named Fleetwood. He was an original member of the Texas Aryan Brotherhood gang. The Texas Aryan Brotherhood began as a state prison gang in Texas. This is the way Dinky was introduced to the gang. Many of those gang members later ended up in the federal system where they branched off and formed a new gang, which they named Aryan Brotherhood of Texas. Fleetwood thought he was in a pool of comrades. Instead, he was in a puddle filled with sharks. Little does he know, in just a few short hours, he will become shark bait. This time, Dinky dispatches 3 Aryan Brotherhood of Texas members to draw blood. In the early morning hours, the recreation yard becomes a gladiator pit once again. Staff are oblivious to the 3 young men in their 20s, beating a man who could be their father. Fleetwood is beaten with padlocks attached to belts. He is sitting in the grass, shoes off, his toes curled up towards the bright sun. A slight breeze caresses the blue grass. The first padlock blow comes from the side. It splits Fleetwood's cheek open, blood like a rushing stream. Somehow he gets to his knees, but that lasts for no more than 2 seconds. The other 2 young men swing their weapons. Fleetwood topples over, face first into the dirt. Now comes the hard black boots to Fleetwood's face, ribs, and back. I witness this assault from a distance, anger welling up inside me. For a moment, I feel my own desire for violence tease me from within. I forget that the old man is a gang member momentarily. I long for an opportunity to destroy these 3 filth-filled men. I envision a baseball bat in my hands, swinging it like Mark McGuire. Rather than connecting with a fast pitch, it's their heads. How anyone can beat up an old man the way they are leaves me both irate and perplexed. But this is prison. They are gang members. This is not my business, so I must suppress my anger along with my craving to intervene. The assaulters finally tire. They leave Fleetwood laying in the grass, a bloody mess. When the move is called, the aggressors leave the yard, making their way back to their housing units. Fleetwood is still laying in the grass like a dead deer when they close the recreation yard. One officer is tasked with doing a check of the yard to make sure all prisoners are back inside. The officer sees Fleetwood laying on the grass. He calls out, "Hey you, recall, time to go inside." No response. "It's time to go," I said, the officer calls out again. He is close enough now to see the blood on Fleetwood's face. "Oh, what the fuck?" he yells out. He's rubbing his forehead as he raises the radio to his mouth with his other hand, wondering how he missed the assault. He mouths something into the radio. Staff come running out of the doors from all directions. They just stare at Fleetwood when they reach him. They don't know if he is alive or dead. No one checks for a pulse. Medical staff arrive. They move Fleetwood to the all-familiar stretcher. Somehow, he moans in pain. His face continues to swell from the trauma. I look on in anger, desperate to be released from this land of horrors. "Lock these motherfuckers down," the captain says. "I'm tired of this bullshit every day. Who the fuck is in that tower?" the captain yells. The rest of us are finally ordered off the yard. When the door to the cell locks behind me, it does not bother me. I feel relieved, knowing that we are going to be locked down. Finally, a break from the violence. With the doors locked, I can rest knowing I am safe, at least for a few days.